My name is Albert W. Mizell.
I'm Ann Williams. I'm 81 years old and live in Henderson, Kentucky.
Ray McKinney. R-A-E. Ray McKinney. McKinney. And how old am I? 99.
Gloria Dora, don't spit on the floor. Use the cuspidora. That's what it's for. And then she slapped my face.
You went off to war. Was Flora waiting for you, or had you not met her yet?
Oh, I met her.
You just weren't married yet?
I don't think so.
Okay.
She was a beauty. I was a beauty too. I had hair down the hill.
Did she have to work, Flora?
Yeah.
What did she do?
Worked in a store. She was a singer. And she sang in the choir, and it was beautiful. I used to take Flora to the, to practice at the synagogue, singing with the other girls.
Being at a camp getting ready to go off to work can be distressing, not being able to see your loved ones every day.
When the soldiers were moping around at the camps all day, the dancers came out and play.
The dancers and singers wore in extravagant, colorful dresses, comforting the soldiers and keeping their spirits up.
Those entertainers became a really big part of the soldiers' lives, providing entertainment and fun during the harsh times.
The distraction helped the soldiers stop worrying about invasions and their loved ones back at home.
Millions of men were called into the armed services or were used in strategic defense jobs. This left a void in almost every civilian workforce. Many of the jobs formerly held by men were filled by women, most of whom had been full-time homemakers, or as you would say, stay-at-home moms. Many young girls and women also worked in the farm fields, tilling, planting, and harvesting crops to replace the farm men and boys who had gone to war. Feeding the millions of civilians and troops required a huge supply of food, and everybody had a victory garden.
During World War II, there was a very big food shortage. Both the families at home and the men out fighting needed food. With the men not at home to farm, the women had to learn how to farm and take care of themselves. They had to farm food for not only their families, but some to send off to the military. If they had extra food, they canned it to be saved for later. Women worked on farms with little help, but were asked to produce more food, making their responsibilities harder during World War II.
Women worked hard at these important factory jobs and still had their work at home to do. Unlike today, they had few conveniences. Mary got up at 3:30 in the morning to do her washing, ironing, cooking, and cleaning before starting out to the Chrysler factory. Chrysler had changed from making cars to manufacturing fighter planes. Surely adding to the stress of her long, hard work day was the concern of her 5 brothers who were all serving in the armed forces overseas, and of her son who was drafted in 1945. The nurses who served in the Army, Navy, and Marines during World War II surely had an important job. They were there for the sick and wounded, even near the dangerous battlefields.
With all the men off to war to fight, there were no doctors or nurses to help them when they were injured. This is how the Army Nurse Corps was created. More than 59,000 nurses served in the Army Nurse Corps.
There were other nurse corporations and programs, but the Army Nurse Corps was the biggest and most efficient of them. The Navy, Coast Guard, and Marine Corps all provided and employed nurses during the war.
Nurses worked everywhere, including on the front lines. They served in field hospitals, hospital trains, and shows.
Because they were so dedicated to their job and they worked so hard, there was a very low post-injury death rate throughout the entire U.S. military. Nurses were a vital part of the war and helped win the war.
did a lot of camping,
Canning.
canning,
Yeah.
yeah.
Vegetables and what did you can?
Anything we can get our hands on. Anything anybody would grow, we
Well,
can.
what kinds of things did you grow?
Everything. Beans and butter beans and cabbage and anything. We had a garden all the time.
Did everybody have gardens back then?
They had, not everybody, but there was a good many.
What she's saying is that a lot of women went to work and started working in the factories and things
Yeah,
during that time. So
they
did you
should.
know women who went to work for the first time?
We used the owners of the mills and things, you know, the owners. We didn't know them. Worked in the drugstore, in the drug department during the war.
So you always worked, because you always worked in the pharmacy.
Yeah.
Because her father had a pharmacy and then
We
her
had
husband.
drugs, see, we had drugs for the women and all that. Was in that we had drug departments and all that. At that time.
Yeah.
Women played an important role during World War II. Without all of the women taking their share of responsibilities during this time, the outcome of World War II may have been different. If you meet a woman who lived during World War II, you should thank her for her service to our country.
Man at his craft, but then his number came up and he was gone with the draft. He's in the army now, a blowing reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. They made him blow a bugle for his Uncle Sam. It really brought him down because he couldn't jam. The captain seemed to understand, because the next day the cap went out and drafted a band. And now the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. A toot, a toot, a toot-a-toot, he blows it into the bar. In boogie rhythm, he can't blow a note.